You can't tell me he didn't plan or prepare this stream. Maybe this is the real reason, dude. He's hidden the real reason he's mad and he's doing all this. This is what I'm talking about. This is a lie. This isn't misremembering something. This is a lie. So many like little digs that are meant to be like palatable to DGG people. Did you see me defend your ass on Vaush's stream last Saturday?
I'm weirdly invested in your relationship with Booksmarts, probably because I find him extremely charitable and good faith. Will you have him on again? I suppose.
That's good to know. I thought he didn't want to have me on at all after the brain rot comments.
I don't actually trust Booksmart that much. I think that Booksmart might have the DGG brain virus, unfortunately.
So that's what I mentioned on Destiny's stream. That's the reason why I didn't reach out to him prior to doing this. I wish I could talk to Vaush in this same way and get answers before I cover it, because he was saying all that. So
I still don't particularly appreciate him calling me a liar, though. I just don't think that's an accurate. I said that I don't trust Booksmarts because he said that I lie a lot, and then when he responded to that, he said, it could just be you forgetting mid-conversation. And I want to be perfectly clear. I do forget things mid-conversation. That's not something I don't do. It actually happens pretty often. So I don't know. Seems like an unfortunate inference.
Like I said, if it's door number 1, I'm willing to be the asshole. But if it is door number 1, the advice to Vaush is that he needs to work on that then. You shouldn't be the asshole that stalls up a whole conversation with your shitty recollection of what you had said or what other people had said. When you find yourself in a situation where people are calling into question like the way that things happened, like you have to give extra special credence to that, in my opinion, if you're somebody that gets that mixed up all the time. Am I wholly convinced that's all that's going on there and you don't ever misremember something on purpose? No, like I will still stand behind that has to happen sometimes on purpose. I'm not willing to accept that all of the time it's an accident, because it doesn't seem that way. I'm not a debate person. Like I don't want to debate you about it, you know. We're making jumps because we have to infer something. That's my inference, and I personally think I have a high bar for it.
I guess I can understand why a person might arrive. I need an example. Maybe if I was given an example, it was something that I could work on.
When you bring up out of nowhere, totally unprovoked, my net worth, your goal there is to poison the well, to make it so that everything I say is tainted with my class, like it's somehow an argument against what I'm saying. Do you deny that that's what you're doing?
Oh yeah, that your behavior is possibly tainted by your class. Absolutely, yeah.
That your behavior is possibly tainted by your class? This is what frustrates me about Vaush. That's not what happened. Let's fucking listen to the beginning of this video again.
Fundamentally, he doesn't have like a solution or a timetable for change, but he's very, very interested in putting shackles on the people who are more concerned about change than he is, you know? He's fairly wealthy. I'm pretty sure his net assets are well over $1 million. It doesn't really matter too much. He's a wealthy person who has a great deal of material and social capital, who looks at the class issues of those who push for them and says, well, okay, sure, maybe, you know, I'd be in favor of worker co-ops or Medicare for all if it was electable and if people supported it, but they don't.
Possibly tainted by your class. That is not at all a fair characterization of what Vaush said. These unfair characterizations of both what Vaush has said in the past, done in the past, and others have, that is my problem.
He said you forget things in key moments too much. Possible, yeah, that's entirely possible, but I don't lie.
When you know that you misremember something, but you make the choice to be confident about every single memory you have about everything, and you don't give any ground to people who are like maybe pointing out where that problem is coming up, in my mind, that gets very close to like just straight up lying. These two things are like entering into a gray area where it's like, I could believe that side of things and be uber charitable to the dude. But even in that situation, I don't think those are good decisions to make. Like, I don't think they're morally good decisions. So, all right, let's watch the video now.
We're completely done engaging with Destiny. This isn't some, like, pithy back and forth. I've said that before, but we're committing to it this time. In fact, I'm committing to it so hard that from now on, discussion of Destiny is banned, both in the Reddit and in the Discord, which should significantly improve the quality of both of those
social spaces, by the way.
I will say there are a lot of people in the DGG communities who are really gnarly. To some of the dumb fucks in your chat, he's not a doormat because he doesn't threaten to like have other people on his behalf fuck with somebody's website. So when people tell me this, like I usually am okay with it. Like, yeah, that makes sense. You definitely get a different kind of viewership from the Destiny community, and they're not all great. In the words of our former president, Donald J. Trump, they're not sending their best, okay? I'm not saying they're all rapists and murderers, okay? I wouldn't go that far, but, you know.
I'm sure that he and his community will throw a fit about this being some sort of cowardice or whatever, but
Cowardice.
man.
I mean, it might be, dude. It might be. If you stood up to the school bully 2 times, first time, you get your fucking bell rocked, dude. You get knocked the fuck out. Second time, you did a little bit of training at the gym. You found your Mr. Miyagi. He taught you how to wax his car. You went up to him, you took your Karate Kid stance, and he fucking decked you. He fucking laid you out for a second time. And then you come back from school, you come back, you know, you're at the hospital for 2 weeks, and you're like, you know what? I know people are going to say I'm a fucking coward, but I think I've outpassed this guy physically. I've just done it. I've accomplished this while I was in my metabolic chamber, dude. I am the greatest. And I don't think I'm going to engage with this motherfucker anymore. Okay? It's never ever going to happen. I can't fight him anymore. Like, that's a interesting narrative that we're spinning between all these individual happenstances. But that's fascinating to me. But hey, he's going to make a very good argument for it in this video. So let's hang on, dude. Let's hang on.
Because I have no intention of continuing to talk about this for like the next 5 years, let's just say it all right now.
I don't want to keep talking about this shit, bro, because I am the greatest and we will be discussing this for fucking years and years to come. But I'm just going to lay the record straight. So I ain't got to never comment on this, never again, okay? I'll say what we're all thinking, all right? I love the way he sets this up. Like, knowing the context of the debates that they've had, like, up to this point, I love the context of this, you know? If history had gone a little bit differently, like, maybe this would be really cool, but it's just fascinating to me.
If you're like a DGG or you like Destiny, it's totally fine. We're not kicking anyone out of the community because we're not Destiny, who banned tens of thousands of people from his community and Reddit once the Lefty arc began.
This is going to be a huge point for the rest of this entire talk. We are completely done engaging with Destiny. This isn't like some pithy back and forth. Damn, what a hell of an opening. Discussion of Destiny is banned in both the Reddit and the Discord, though he fears this will be labeled cowardice, right? He doesn't want to keep discussing this. If you like Destiny, that's fine. I'm not kicking anyone out. Unlike Destiny, this is going to become a recurring thing because later on, we really want to make points about Destiny banning stuff. He repeats it multiple points in this, the 5-digit bans that Steven's community has been whipping up, right? So he's going to make a case for why Steven and his community are awful and why he shouldn't be engaging with them, right? So this is structured just like a paper. We have our thesis right here at the beginning. We are completely done engaging with Destiny. What does that mean? Well, he's banned in both the Reddit and the Discord, and I won't be talking to him anymore. And I preferably would not want to discuss about this anymore. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't want to touch back on this topic anymore, right? And so it's just like that. We get a thesis, we get our parts of our thesis. We're going to be introduced to some basic points around the banning and negative things he's doing on Twitter, which I've labeled like Twitter and Twitch differently because I think that that's important context to remember here. So he's going to lay out all of his arguments for that. In my opinion, it's done very, very well. Like, I think that the way it's laid out, it is giving no ground to a counter narrative at all. It's just completely not in here. He makes it seem as though he's like organically stepping through each step of this and that he's like organically moving through sources as if they were not prepared. And yet references that he makes at the very beginning are references that are going to be brought up by the main sources that he's going to use later. So in my mind, either he was aware of the existence of all the sources at the time of the recording of this, or he had actively prepared it. And so it turns out really well. You know, I think it's at least the culture around banning that he tries to point out, I didn't even get very good pushback against that in my conversation with Steven.
Sometimes I do ban liberally if I'm pissed off. I'm honest about it. I'll do sometimes I just fucking ban, especially when I'm playing fucking League. But I also unban like crazy. Like I think yesterday, I unbanned everybody that I banned in like the past like week of my subreddit or whatever. Like I unbanned people like very, very, very liberally as well.
There may not be solutions to it, right? And if that is the case, that sucks because people are probably going to keep pointing this out if Vaush is pointing this out, and you need some kind of response to it. Recently, he pretended to just spontaneously see a Ben Shapiro video to watch on stream, but then accidentally showed it being in a to debunk playlist. Definitely prepares a lot of his stuff. And the problem is, if what you're saying here is true, I'm poisoned because I think that he lies. The reason why when we do reviews, I'm very hesitant to like say that somebody is lying or say that somebody is stupid or these other things is because they're claims that kind of broadly like hurt that person or their argument. And so I try to like have a very high bar for it. If I believe in the narrative, like I do, that he lies and then he lies about lying, I have to see something like this and know that it supports my position. But it's difficult because I'm going to see that in a lot of different things if that's the narrative I'm weaving in my head, which is why I don't encourage you guys to embark on that unless you're really convinced of it. Have I said something or continued on with something that I knew wasn't truthful, like when I'm on stream? 110%. Like I'm sure that it's happened before, because there are times when it happens reactively and I don't think it's like a big deal, and I think that's the case for most people. Like if I notice that I said a word wrong, I may just continue with it. Even if a chatter corrects me, I may be like, I don't want to get triggered, I don't want to like look dumb, I'm just going to continue, I'll pronounce the word the right way in the future, whatever. Like
It's cowardice, not cowardice. What do you want?
So when you're just like, no, I never lie at all. Like, well, okay. I don't know. It's rough for me.
Destiny's a real smart guy. There's really no getting around that. But this latest lefty arc, in my opinion, has left him two things. One, it's left him really emotional. And two, it's meant that he is so uncharitable with lefties in general, but also specifically with me, that I feel like he's kind of a troll at this point, a little bit. There's so much stuff that he's done. It's actually hard to like remember all of it. There's so much stuff that it's actually like really, really hard to take him seriously after it.
This is what I mean is like the performance would seem to indicate that he is naturally recollecting all these things, right? And you can buy into that if you'd like. I don't think that's the case. I think this is prepared. He may make a whole video like, I know I said that it was a maybe before that Booksmarts has that brain rot, but the diagnosis just came back. Lab results are in. He's definitely got it. Now he's saying that I don't naturally remember things at all, in that I prepare like everything that I talk about on stream, which while I wish was the case, because I would be this like super planning, meticulous guy, it's really not, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I can see it happening already, dude. And that's the frustrating thing with engaging with this, dude, is because it's like, I know that that's probably going to be something along the lines of like one of the responses that I could get, but it's like, I don't see that you just remember all this shit and just have it right, dude. I know, because it doesn't naturally happen like that for like any of the streamer people that I watch. They sit there and fumble around or have to ask chat for links. Like it doesn't happen like that. You have to have all of it prepared. There's simply no way that you just do that.
When Demon Mama was on Twitter saying that she got raided by a bunch of 4chaners telling her to kill herself, and Destiny accused her of faking it and making the post on Poll herself, like just lying.
Point to Vaush here. Yeah, I don't know why he did this. This was fucked. Does anybody remember what the fuck his response was to this? He said he doesn't give a fuck because everyone lies about him. Destiny, honey, did you break the vase in the living room? I don't give a fuck, Mom. Everybody lies about me. So you broke it? That's not a very good response, if I'm be real with you.
Normally, he's like super, super hard on the lying online, but he just like did it, and then accusing the serfs of funneling money into to Hamas.
Yeah, I asked him about this. He didn't have a very good response to it, so he's in the clear. Maybe you jumped the gun on that one a little bit.
He may or may not be in the clear. I've jumped in the gun on him way less than he has on me, but I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe they should have just chosen a better charity that didn't have like a board full of people that were anti-Semitic and all had to step down as a result of it. But hey, you know,
I don't think it's good optics to accuse the dude of funneling to Hamas. I tried to get that out of him, but I couldn't. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to probably side with Vaush a bit on this one. I don't think you should be saying stuff like that, but you know, I get where Steven's coming from in this one in a way that I don't with the Demon Mama remark.
And encouraging people to hack my website after the Rittenhouse stuff, which again, he never apologized for or even acknowledged.
He fucked up. Destiny fucked up. There's no defending that. And it's not like he stole the website. He didn't do it that way. It was like made open source for people to use. And this doesn't just affect Vaush in that case then. This is so many levels of bad that like I can't defend it. He didn't defend it in our conversation.
I probably shouldn't do it. I should be the bigger person, but I can only like do so much.
You can't really defend this shit.
In that case, we do a little trolling here, like led him to say stuff that is a crime. I'm pretty sure that's a crime to tell other, like your followers to hack somebody's website. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I like the parallelisms to Trump here. You need to realize that, like, while I have disagreements with Vaush, while I have criticisms about things like misremembering or what I call lying, there's helpful things in here for him. But I know he doesn't watch the fucking things because then he talks about how he wants evidence and there's evidence time-stamped in the fucking video. Every time he's playing anything, he's doing a good job at it, you know? Like, it's when he's lying that I think he does a bad job, because I just don't think that you can get away with lying as much. And whether you say it's I misremembered and people are just calling me out for that, like, I don't care, whatever we call it, misremembering, lying, you can't get away with it because other people, like, it's just down to like how much they're willing to fight you on it, right? Because if they saw or heard something in a different way, they're just going to fight until their patience runs out. Booksmarts just really hates Vaush. Holy shit. I have a problem with that part. And he won't acknowledge it. So it makes me want to point it out more, right? It's like Steven and the criticism thing. Like, how many times I got to teach this lesson, old man? Don't be coming at me with the, oh, I take criticism super well, or, oh, I wish other people would take criticism super well. Because I'm going to smack you, and I'm going to smack you hard. That's the problem, dude. And that's the me problem. I want to smack somebody super hard when they hit me with some bullshit.
Remember after the Rittenhouse stuff, Xander Hall came on for a conversation with Destiny, I mean. And Destiny kept playing up this, like, I can't believe Vaush would do this. I thought we were friends type thing. I have never been friends with Destiny. We have never had a friendly, no conversation we have ever had has ever extended beyond disagreeing over something.
This is something I asked Steven about, and he has an actual legitimate disagreement with Vaush about this.
We hung out in real life. We almost went out to eat, but everything was closed. There's pictures of like me, him, and his girlfriend. We did a real life debate. Like, I'm pretty sure that people were posting logs of him even saying we were friends. Like, so like to pretend like, oh no, we were never friends. It was like, that's like a really weird, but you know, he's a big YouTuber now and shit. So maybe he's choosing more carefully, whatever connections bolster him the most. But
I don't know how well this appeal works to the audience. Doesn't a lot of the audience in their headcanon imagine that Vaush and Destiny are friends? Like, or at least at some point were friends? And this is what I mean by the never. When you say something like never or always, like, you're putting up a really high bar for me.
I think he wished me a happy birthday like 4 years ago, but it was like really weird. Like he knew I wasn't there to point out to Zan that we've never been friends, so he was doing this like manipulator tactic thing. Yeah, it was like really, really strange.
This is like a big claim relative to like the evidence that he gives. This is where I would say that like his argument gets more shaky. And if you're gonna shit on me for assuming you're lying because I don't know your intent, like, I'm sorry, but you know, I'm gonna pull a card out of Destiny's deck and turn into the Batman for a second, because you have no fucking idea what or why he's saying these things. Like, it could be that he really did think you were a friend until you pulled this shit and the people from your household pulled this shit. and then he was really disappointed because he had thought about things differently. That's an option that's on the table. It could be that, like somebody else in the chat said earlier, that because he's cold and different from people, he thinks about friendships and stuff differently, and his perspective is different than the perspective of people that engage with him. So it could have been that he thought working together all the time, talking together all the time, interacting in a business way also was carrying over to some kind of friendship. He could have thought that, right? And if he was thinking that, then him mentioning it in a conversation with Zan is not because you're not there to point it out. It's because he believes it, right? And he's hurt by it. Like, that's just as plausible of a thing that's happening here, in my opinion. So this jumping to manipulator tactic, like, is making leaps that are not going to be proved by any of the evidence that we're going to go through either. The tough thing, like I said, with Vaush, is he has this tone of confidence around everything. His confidence level is always at like a 9 or a 10. And so you cannot separate out like what is strong and what is weak off of his tone alone. A lot of people that just passively consume content or passively talk with people are really influenced by that in ways that I'm not sure that they give a lot of credence to. So just keep that in mind. He was strong on all of this stuff to prove that maybe he's a troll, or at the very least he's uncharitable to lefties, or at the very least he's maybe a bad guy because he did these 3 things, right? There are strong arguments that he's making, but then there are weaker ones. This is a weaker one. Let's see if he goes through this at all here.
And then I remember he's done that before too. Like after the Rittenhouse stuff, when Lumi, there was a clip of Lumi Rue like laughing a little bit after like something had happened, like Destiny had gotten banned or something like that. And Lumi laughed in a clip. And then Destiny like freaked out about it and said like, well, I anonymously donated $1,000 to Lumi's top surgery, and said it like over and over again. Like I did a quiet favor. So like, yeah, it was really weird.
When he's talking about this Lumi clip, it's meant to be in support of the idea that he's using this friendship thing as a manipulator tactic. Vaush doesn't even explicitly say anywhere that he claims that Lumi was a friend, just that he said that he had donated to her top surgery. Like, yeah, this is shitty in and of itself, but like, it's not really falling into the same thing that you're claiming happened with Xanderhall, where he lied to Xanderhall because he knew that you weren't going to be there. Vaush doesn't want to give even an ounce towards the other side here, which is another thing that, like, for me, because of assumptions I've made about Vaush's character, I have to be very careful, right? He is going out of his way to include nothing that could support Destiny's case in any of these examples, right? Because when I talked to Steven about this,
I don't think they are like super malicious or vindictive or hate me. I think it was more just they were trying to get with Mike, and Mike fucking hates me, and it's really easy for them to kind of like laugh along with their community at me, so it was just like that. But that just felt kind of shitty because we've had like a lot of interactions and conversations of the past, and I didn't know that like I would literally have somebody like that like making fun of the fact that I think it was banned for a while or whatever. It's like, okay, that feels pretty shitty. But
clearly he remembers some context in there that's important, but Vaush like quickly glances over it as if it was unimportant, or he doesn't remember it. But he remembers it enough to like get all these other points about it correct. Whether he's intentionally doing this or not, he's really downplaying any side that might be in support of Steven. So you need to be looking for stuff like that if you want to balance out your opinion of like what's going on here, if that's your goal. If that's not your goal, if you want to hear about why Steven's bad, he's doing a very, very good job of it. You know, you don't have to look any further or think any deeper than that. I'm not sure this is quite comparable to the thing before this. They both point to shitty behavior and maybe him expecting too much out of his relationships with people, but it seems more like guilt tripping than any sort of major manipulative tactic or something. If guilt trip passes the line for you, that's cool. I can get that. I just think the implication you get here is mixed with his delivery, makes it seem like more than it is. This was also at an extremely low point for him getting departnered on Twitch. Yeah, it's context that's helpful to remember at a human level, but you also need to keep in mind, don't let him just get away with shit like this, right? Like, keep this in mind. These are important things to remember that he did.
The thing is, I knew that if I did any of this, it would be remembered like forever by my community. And he used to have a reputation for his community holding him to account, but it doesn't anymore, because he banned all of the people.
And this is like a perfectly written essay. Like, why is all this a problem? It's a problem because this community doesn't hold them accountable. Why can't they hold them accountable? Because they ban everybody, right? Like, we have very good transitions here. The way that these ideas are connecting is a lot better than the evidence that he gave to support this manipulator tactic idea, right? The manipulator tactic thing is kind of just thrown in there. You're given two little bits of evidence that are not anything in comparison to the other points and their respective thesis statement. I hope that both of those didn't land equally in the eyes of his audience, but now we're moving on to the third thing, which I think we've transitioned really well to. Let's see.
Every time there's a Reddit thread criticizing him, everyone in the chat and the replies goes 07 because they know that person's going to be banned. I would be interested in seeing what the ban list looks like for Destiny's subreddit, because I'd be willing to bet that it's probably hit like 5 digits at this point.
One thing he's going to go and he's going to lean on is going to be the community memes. When the community makes memes about the way that you like ban people and stuff, I think it provides like really, really good evidence for you to use in support of like problems. This is something that I think I also did when I confronted him about his rhetoric the first few times. Was like, I've been looking more into your community, and your community has memes about how you're bad at this. Like, your community has like jokes that they have about you because you do these things wrong. I don't know if it's sufficient for you to tell me these problems don't exist when it's an entire joke in your community that they do. And so I think this works out for Vaush.
It used to be the big thing, like his community held him to account. But now criticism just gets banned. So like, does it? I don't think so. I don't get that vibe anymore.
This is like the thesis statement right here. Okay, so this is going to be the summary for basically the entire thing here.
And his community, by the way, and I want to be clear, look, there are really good people who watch Destiny. I know I'm friends with a lot of people who like Destiny. I'm really not trying to impugn everyone here, but his community, insane. There were people in there posting like unironic, like pro IDF. I'm pretty sure Destiny even like downplayed the severity of what Israel was doing in the past couple days, saying that it was just like landlord disputes over which they had a legal right. His community, this is not a joke, by the way, his community has decided, at least some portions of it on the Reddit, not the whole thing, that the Glass Israel thing was reflective of my actual beliefs. Do you know how many times Destiny has threatened to bomb something? Destiny has threatened to bomb ISP offices. Destiny has threatened to bomb and kill so many people and individuals. And because I'm not insane, I recognize what hyperbolic language looks like. But like, imagine if I like got up here and I was like, yeah, Destiny should be banned from Twitch because he's a threat, because he threatened to bomb an ISP one time.
Even when he goes to like maybe demean himself, all it is a vehicle to move on to like a similar yet much worse criticism of Steven. Oh, hey, did you hate me for those comments I made about blowing up your favorite country in the Middle East? Well, what if I told you I wanted to blow up the ISP down your street? Because that's something that Steven actually probably believes. Like, as somebody who structures like arguments and papers, like, this is wonderful. Like, this is very well done. Like, this is laid out in a very good way. I would say that I'm definitely biased in favor of Steven here. I like Steven. I like him more than I like Vaush, although that's getting close because he tests my fucking patience. I can appreciate like the work that's clearly gone into organizing these arguments because they're set up and executed like very, very well.
There were people in his community who were obviously clearly of the belief that like that was reflective. No, I know. I actually saw this. This was the top response in a Reddit post, by the way. This was the top response, not like some little downvoted thing. I had a conversation with Dylan Burns a couple of weeks ago about the Israel-Palestine thing, remember? And it was a good conversation, too. It was a good conversation. I like Dylan Burns a lot. I have a lot of respect for the guy. And afterwards, there was some Reddit thread in Destiny's Reddit that got posted about it. And the headline was, you know, look, Vaush had a talk with Dylan Burns. And you know what the top reply was? I'm serious. The top reply was, it was boring. Vaush had his mask on the whole time. And when that's the point you've reached with a community, what the fuck is even the point of trying to talk with them?
that's a needle in the haystack. Maybe this is the real reason, dude. He's hidden the real reason he's mad and he's doing all this right in the middle of it. Yeah, I would be pissed too if I had some like top comments like that. But did you have your mask on? I don't know. Why aren't we asking the real questions, dude? Why don't we watch it a little bit? What do they mean by this? Is it because he had those bad comments and so they're like, ah, he's just hiding his power level. He really wants to take those Israelis by their goddamn throat and bring them into a video game to have some fun. They probably took all those comments, assumed that that's his position, and then when he talks to Dylan Burns, who's educated on the topic, he doesn't have those positions or doesn't come off as hotly. So then they're going to say he has a mask on. That's my guess. I'm going to be real with you. Now, I'm not a Vaush simp before you say that. But I must be fair to Vaush here. Like, I know very little about the dude, but I haven't seen him talk about how he wants, like, that kind of stuff. He always seems to walk it back and say, that's not what I actually believe. Come on, man. I'm being hyperbolic. Like, okay. I mean, I believe Steven when he says that. I believe him when he says it. If he's just being hyperbolic, then he's just being hyperbolic. He's being a dickhead. I feel like if you want to buy into that, you can buy into that. That's fine. That's reasonable. I don't think it's fair to say that just because he had one outburst. Like, I don't think you can judge somebody's, like, totality of their opinions on the one outburst. And it may even be that, like, he believed it at the time, but he don't believe it anymore. Maybe he was like, all right, I met some Jewish people. They're not as bad as I thought they were. I had a lovely sit-down dinner with a few people and they changed my mind. Who knows, you know? I wouldn't assume that that's like the totality of his beliefs about Israel. So I don't know if that's fair, if that's how they're reaching that conclusion.
Not to mention Destiny calling me an anti-Semite the other day, then walking it back.
He's incorrect here. Now he's lying. All right, we're 7 minutes in and we've hit the lie. All right. I don't think I even noted this. He's not calling him an anti-Semite in this. He also was very careful not to, in his stream that he did as a follow-up when he's giving more info about this.
Now, again, I don't know if Vaush is a Nazi. Or not a Nazi. I don't think Vaush is a Nazi or anti-Semitic or whatever.
He also didn't in this conversation with me, and he was very particular about making a point that he'd never called him an anti-Semite and that he was super careful about it.
I said a million times, I don't think Vaush is probably anti-Semitic, but yikes, that's just a really, 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 really bad word to just instantly go to for a Jewish guy that's not from Israel, who's actually not in favor of like the Israeli settlements or anything.
Now, I dug into him because like when you're saying like, well, he knows how the Nazis use this stuff and the Nazis use it anti-Semitically. So, all right, well, you need to chill the fuck out, bro, because you're painting a fucking very clear picture, bro. It ain't paint by numbers if I only have like 2 colors that I need to fill in. My opinion aside, he doesn't call him an anti-Semite here. He doesn't call him an anti-Semite in the follow-up VOD. This is not true. This is what I'm talking about. This is a lie. This isn't misremembering something. This is a lie.
I noticed that me calling Deepak a Zionist and then literally 10 seconds later clarifying my statement is walking it back, but Destiny calling me an anti-Semite and then the next day saying on stream that he didn't mean it, he actually meant that what I just said was interpretable as an anti-Semite, that's not walking it back.
And Destiny didn't walk it back. He doubled down, clarifying it is very close to anti-Semitic rhetoric and not necessarily anti-Semitic.
I don't think he's anti-Semitic, but holy fuck, that is such a horrible fucking thing to just go to call somebody a fucking Zionist out of nowhere because you disagree with like one take they have on something. It's really fucking weird to do it.
Do you think calling someone a Zionist when they're Jewish outside of Israel is similar to any other racially motivated slight? Yeah, so I definitely see like the problem with it. Similarly to the Gusano thing, like I don't know if it's racist. I don't know if it's like anti-national. I don't know what the fuck label you put on that. It's some kind of prejudice. I do not like it. Believe me when I tell you, I see the problem with it. I think we need to be careful because that can also be political speech. It's meant to be more political than it is racial. Like if you're a Nazi and you're using some label for Jewish, I mean, you believe some crazy shit about Jewish people. Okay. So I'm pretty sure it's mostly the racial stuff and very little of like their actual politics because you consider them animals and whatever probably. But if you're like a political dude and you're criticizing a Jewish guy who's political, like I don't know if you mean it completely racially, or I don't know what the percentage split there is, but I don't think it's comparable to the Nazi person. Now that may be flawed, whatever. That's just an insight into how I think about it.
He clip chimped that. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he used to hate clip chimping.
He definitely did. Point to Vaush here. Steven definitely clip chimped his fucking thing. That's big time true.
Remember when I talked with him about like Abigail Thorne and Destiny defended the idea that Ben Shapiro wasn't racist? Remember that? He had to argue with his chat after I left. He even said about that famous Ben Shapiro Palestine tweet, you know, Arabs like to live in sewage and bombed out buildings.
That's a hell of a remark. That could really lead someone to believe some bad shit. That's like if you said like you should glass.
He even said something like that. I swear to God, I thought this was a fever dream. Destiny said something like, well, Ben Shapiro's Jewish. Can you imagine there's any reason why he would have said something like that about the Palestinians? Which I didn't know was an excuse for racism.
I'm pretty sure he means that as like a normal human being. If some white people cut like a black family or something, and then were real like shitty about it, and that black family was really miffed, like particularly miffed, and then my friend was like, I can't believe they're so mad, all they did was cut, then I might be like, well, you know, there may be other reasons that like they're really upset about that, because these people are acting really uppity right now too, and like that's not cool. And you know, like there may be other like factors at play here, depending on what we're listening to, what we're hearing. If we turn it into like this, it's meant to be an argument that stands on its own, and that was the best one that he could possibly pick, and whatever. Like, yeah, we could pretend that's what it was, but it sounds like it's like a passing remark.
At the end of the day, it just seems like everything Destiny does at this point is spite. Destiny used to come down super hard on Israel and be pro-Palestine back when he argued with Lauren Southern in 2016. Now he's not. Now, every time Israel comes up, he just shits on lefties. He doesn't even talk about Israel or Palestine. He just shits on lefties. There was a tweet he did, oh, good, Israel announced a ceasefire. Now lefties can go back to talking about college tuition. But isn't that kind of ironic? Destiny's argument is that lefties only... First of all, the idea that lefties don't care about the Middle East is ridiculous. Second of all, Destiny's argument is that lefties only focus on trivial things. Israel declares a ceasefire, and Destiny's first thought is to tweet out that lefties are doing something wrong. Even his community pointed that out. Yeah, you can. The trend here is pretty obvious. Look, this is his own damn Reddit. Look, Destiny's friends taking the ceasefire. A ceasefire has been announced. Thank goodness. Now lefties can resume ignoring the existence of the Middle East and go back to issues that really matter, like how much money they owe on their student loans. This is some terminally online, by the way, and I used to think Destiny wasn't like terminally online, but
I like when he uses like terminology from Steven's community that are really popular to point at like a commonly accepted negative attribute. That way everybody can see that that's associated with the creator that made it up, and they have to feel a certain way about Destiny. You have to kill the community leader person rhetorically with a device of their own community's creation. And so you have to use like phraseology like this and point to things that everybody in the community accepts as bad, and then project those onto the person in order to do damage against them in a really meaningful way. And he does that quite a bit, and I think it's interesting.
A ceasefire has been announced, thank goodness. Now Destiny can resume ignoring the existence of the entire Middle East and go back to issues that really matter, like how much lefties talk about how much money they owe on their student loans. The top response to that is 07, because everybody knows what happens when you disagree with Destiny on his Reddit. I don't know if this guy's actually banned or not, because it was a pretty good meme, but like, it's a meme. Like, it happens enough that it's known.
Because I've been pausing, obviously we can't appreciate it the way it plays off live, but everything that he lays out before here is to point out that Destiny is this awful guy who has a community that he is like basically holding hostage and killing off one by one as people try to escape, right? And then he crescendos it with like, even you guys think that. What is the top upvoted thing on this fucking Reddit post is literally this joke, and then people joking that that person's probably gonna get disappeared, like fucking Stalin.
His entire political advocacy is oriented around hating lefties now, and it's real anger too, by the way. It's real. It's not like some disaffected like trolling the left type thing. Have you seen how he talks about lefties? He gets mad, like Demon Mama. I get Demon Mama could be obnoxious sometimes.
What? That's the worst example you could possibly pick. I don't know. You got like a fucking professional fighter, and he's like, you know, he's doing his fucking Bruce Lee shit, and then he just trips. He just fucking twists his ankle. Bang. fucking eats shit and he just falls over. I don't know if he's trying to cater favor with Demon Mum or what the fuck is going on there, but that seems like a weird play.
I think that Destiny is a contrarian, first and foremost. It took me a while to see it, but I think that's the most consistent narrative you can ascribe.
I need to handle this amicably, charitably, all the adverbs. When Steven hears contrarian, I think that what he imagines is that you think that every one of his positions is coming from a place of, let me look at what is popular and then let me choose the opposite. I don't know if that's how Vaush means it here. If he does, I think he's off base. Another option that I see is that Vaush means this in more so like a meta level of how Destiny interacts with everybody. That's my guess as like a good way that he could mean it.
When he started fighting against the right back in 2016, you know what he would say all the time? These skeptics are everywhere on YouTube. These fascists are everywhere on YouTube. These alt-righters are everywhere on YouTube. He was very interested in defining himself as a response to a broader trend. And you know what he's been saying for the past 2 years? Now BreadTube is the big thing on YouTube. Now it's lefties that are hyper-popular. What's the next wave going to be? If you actually listen for him saying it, it's true. He actually fixates on the popularity of his opposition, almost as though his concern wasn't repping a certain set of ideas, but opposing what's most popular.
Steven seems to like see inconsistency and like problems with like logic to be worth looking at. And he's a businessman. You're a businessman. You talked about why you cover and interact with people is to grow your channel. Same with him, right? Same thing. You guys have the same motivations. You're both fairly upfront about it. And so if he wants to counter narratives that he thinks are really incorrect or based on logic that doesn't make sense to him, that he feels he could argue against, and that's good content for him because those things are popular, that makes sense to me. The part that you're skipping over is the half of his incentives that are circled around like fighting with people that he thinks are incorrect. I don't think anybody could take away from him that he seems to enjoy telling people when they're incorrect. That's a key component that he's mixing in when he's deciding on what to do. Like, it's not just that he thinks that you guys are popular, so he's going to be against you. It's that you're popular with ideas that he thinks don't hold water, and so he wants to argue against them. I feel like that's an important half of this to keep in mind because it explains for us like why he's doing it with a bit more depth.
Like if a left-leaning person takes a position, he immediately has to... Saying Ben Shapiro's not racist? Have you watched or read anything from Ben Shapiro? Christ. Took him minutes to move over on that point when chat pushed him on it.
If it took him minutes, who cares? It took you minutes to realize you fucked up calling Deepak a anti-Jewish slur, apparently, according to some people. So I don't see why you're sweating him if he changed it 2 minutes later. I don't know.
I do have a tendency to be always online. I was born online. No getting around that. But I actually believe in something, like fundamentally. Not like I'm really angered by these other people online and my beliefs have to be defined in opposition to that and so on and so forth.
So many like little digs that are meant for to be like palatable to DGG people. The implication that he doesn't believe in his beliefs is growing stronger by the minute. I'm beginning to like side with you guys on that narrative that he's really trying to spin the idea that Steven doesn't hold any of the positions that he has.
If we have any mutuals who still like Destiny, that's totally cool. But I would really encourage you to like look at him the way that I do now.
This is repeated a lot. It's a very important point that he wants to make sure that you know that he's cool with you being cool with him. It almost feels like some of his talking points or the way that they're worded and some of his criticisms of Steven seem weirdly familiar to me.
If there are any other content creators who know both of us, it's only a matter of time before he does to you what he did to like me and a bunch of other people.
Wow, it's even directed at people like me. I love it. He knows all the people that will be watching this. Very intentional dude.
He's got a lot of people he's on a no-talk deal with these days, okay? He's got a lot of burnt bridges in his past. And it's not surprising to me because it seems like at some point, something you do, some position you take or behavior that you engage in clicks a switch in his brain and he decides you are no longer worthy of treating in good faith.
Maybe. That may be a thing, dude. That may be a thing. It's only a matter of time before DGG comes for you. I mean, they already came on me. Came for me. They were already a little bit mean to me. I've been burned by DGG a little bit.
The position that I have on this now is like, discussion of him is banned on Discord and Reddit, and also here in the chat, because I just don't care anymore. We spent entirely too long being concerned with the opinion that he and his community have had. Any drama farmers, any clip chimps, any drama frogs, whatever, you're all going to get banned. Not because you side with Destiny, but because you keep bringing it to my attention.
He's gonna ban them after all this shit talking about banning dissenting opinions, and he's gonna ban the community that's dissenting about him? What?
One last thing I want to say. No doubt this will be met with some unironic debate broach, like, oh, he's too much of a pussy to debate me, or that type of thing. I know that because Destiny said that he wanted to debate me on, like, the Israel-Palestine thing, and I responded on my stream. I just don't know what there is to even disagree about. It just seems like Destiny's angry and he just wants to debate me because he's angry at me. And you know what Destiny said when he saw that clip? He said, wow, I've never seen Vaush so timid. Proving my point. He didn't have a response. He was just angry.
So Steven pointed this out that people didn't notice this.
When I see somebody who has a dumb fucking take, and I know that it's just some spiteful, reactionary, stupid shit, I want to talk to that person because we're going to have a talk and I'm going to look really good and I'm going to make them look really bad and it's going to be really funny. When somebody accuses me of having a bunch of bad takes who's marketed themselves as the premier internet debater, and then right after I call them out for it, they say, oh, no, we agree on 95% of things. I never want to talk to this person again. I know that they know that my takes aren't spite driven. They're only playing an optics game. That's all he's doing.
That's like a bit of a plot hole. I don't really understand.
He described himself as an SJW for a while. I was doing that years beforehand, okay? If we're actually talking about originative ideologies, then yeah, I may have watched a lot of his streams. It took about half a dozen conversations for me to push him all the way over the positions that he's now ruining, okay? Jesus.
I will not tackle the angle of, like, is this true? Okay, I'm not. I'll assume it's all true. That he changed Destiny's opinion on all this stuff. Let's just assume that Vaush is telling the truth, because he does that a lot. How did you have that kind of, like, relationship with him and you don't think it's friendship, like, at all? You're talking like you had this super duper long relationship with him and all this other stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't know how he anticipated this would land, but I don't imagine people like this very much.
Does anyone here remember back during the N-word arc for Destiny? Back when he was being accused of being a white moderate by some people? And Destiny said, don't you call me a white moderate. I'm the one who introduced that clip to everyone. The letter, what is it? Letter from a Birmingham jail. I'm the one who brought that here. Does anyone remember that? Somebody used the white moderate line on him.
His goal here is just to be a stopgap, essentially a white moderate. He is essentially doing the thing that MLK complained about in the Birmingham letter.
Does anyone remember that? Please tell me someone remembers that. I remember that? Okay, thank God. I just want to make sure I'm not making shit up because I remember this very vividly.
I'm gonna be real with you. You can't tell me he didn't plan or prepare this stream. If that's your take, go call your mom, because we're not gonna get along, you and I. Anywho, it just kind of teeters off. I guess it's not like something that he edited for himself though, right? So that's okay. Hello! What do you guys think? Did we do a good job? I think this one was a lot more casual. I tried to make it more casual, you know? I hope it came off that way. More and more casual. Oh, thank you.